Hi everyone, and welcome back to First the Coffee Crochet. In this tutorial we're going to go over how to make a extra long bean stitch scarf. So as the name implies, it does use the bean stitch and it does have the same appearance on both sides. As the pattern's written, this is the end of it. It is just the bean stitch edge, and your lengthwise ends are done with single crochets. You can put a border along this if you would like, or you could also do tassels, or you can just leave it as is. So this pattern is in US terms, and the scarf is worked flat lengthwise. If you want to change the width of the scarf, you can just adjust the number of times you do the repeat row of the bean stitch. And if you want to change the length, you can adjust the length of the foundation chain. It just needs to be an even number. The initial chains at the start of each row do not count as a stitch. And there are two size hooks that are used in this. A 6mm hook is used for the foundation chain, and then the rest of the pattern uses the 5mm crochet hook. If you don't have the two different sizes, you can just use the one size with the foundation chain and the rest of the pattern. Just be sure to make your foundation chain very loose, and this will help prevent having a shorter side than the other. When doing this, a bean stitch does cover 2 stitches, and the finished size, also as the name implies, is extra long. It's 100 inches long and it's 5.5 inches wide. If you'd like to do a gauge swatch for this, the gauge is 7 bean stitches wide. So that would be a total of 14 stitches, and it's 14 rows tall of a bean stitch, and that'll give you a 4" by 4" swatch. Materials needed to make this are 725 yards of a medium weight yarn. The yarn I did use for this is the Loops and Threads Facets yarn in the color Flame. You'll also need a 5mm crochet hook and a 6mm crochet hook, a yarn needle to weave in your ends, a pair of scissors, and stitch markers are a good idea to use, especially for the foundation chain. Since we are working lengthwise, we're going to start out with a really long foundation chain. The stitches used in this are just the single crochet and the bean stitch, and we'll go over how to do the bean stitch in this tutorial. As always, there is a written pattern for this available on my website, and I'll leave a link for that down in the description below. To start out, we're going to start with our 6mm crochet hook. So you want to create your slip knot, right? And then for the foundation chain, we're going to do a chain of 342. So just remember, if you wanted to change the length of this, you can just change the size of that. It just needs to be an even number. Okay, so once we have our foundation chain, we're going to switch out our hooks. We're going to switch to the 5mm here. Okay, so for row 1, we're going to be working in the back bumps of this chain, so you'll just turn your chain over. You'll see these little ridges along the back. That's what we're going to be doing our first row into. So we're going to be doing a row of single crochet stitches, and we're going to be starting in the second chain from the hook. So when you're looking at these back bumps, that's the first one and that's the second one. So we're just going to insert a hook into that, yarn over and pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through both loops on the hook. Now we're just going to do this in each chain all the way down. So this will just give us one less stitch than our foundation chain length. Okay, so after you finish the last stitch of row 1, now you'll have a row of single crochet stitches. This is where we're going to start our bean stitch, and this is going to be the main repeat row for this scarf. And our bean stitch is going to run for rows 2 through 20. So to start out for row 2, we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to turn our work. So our turning chain will not count as a stitch. We're going to be starting in this first stitch here, and this is where we're going to start our bean stitch. So we're going to go into that first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. That'll give you 2 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yarn over, insert our hook back into that same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. That'll give us 4 loops on the hook. Then we're going to yarn over, go back into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. We'll now have 6 loops on the hook. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 6 loops. Then we're just going to chain 1 to close off that bean stitch. So when you're looking at this right here, this part of the stitch is considered the side of the bean stitch, and the chain we did to close off is considered the top of the stitch, and this will count as 2 stitches. So we're skipping our next stitch, and then in the following one we're going to do another bean stitch. So again, just insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, go back into that stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, back into that same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Then yarn over, pull through all 6 loops on your hook, then chain 1 to finish off that stitch. Skip a stitch, repeat the same thing. So you're just going to do this all the way across the row. So you can go ahead and pause the video, and I'll meet you back here at the end of this row to show you how to finish it out. So once you're getting towards the end here, do this bean stitch. Now you'll see we'll have 2 stitches left here, so we're skipping that one because we just did a bean stitch here, and we're just going to do another bean stitch in this last stitch. Now, even though this is the end, we're still doing a chain 1 to close out that stitch. And so now to go on to the next row, we're going to chain 1, and now we're going to turn. So the chain 1 we just did and the chain that we did to close off the stitch are going to count as our turning chain. And we're going to start our first bean stitch of this row into the side of our last bean stitch here. So this chain that we used to close it off is the top of the stitch, and this is the side. That's the top, that's the side, top, side. So we'll be starting in the side of this first one. We're just going to do a bean stitch like we've done before. We're going to close that off with a chain. Now we're skipping this stitch, which is the top of the next bean stitch, and we're going into the side of the next bean stitch. And we're just going to do another bean stitch. So skip the top here, go into the side and do another one. So you can go ahead and pause the video, and I'll meet you back here at the end of row 3. Okay, so as we get to the end of row 3, you see here this last bean stitch of the row, we got the top and the side, so we're going to do our last bean stitch into the side of that one. Okay, and we're going to chain 1 to close that off. And now we're just going to keep repeating that row all the way up through row 20. So you'll chain another one to start your row, turn your work, and then start doing your bean stitches into the sides of the previous row's bean stitch. So you can go ahead and pause the video, and I'll meet you back here at the end of row 20. So as we're finishing up row 20, you're going to go ahead and chain 1 to finish off that stitch, and we're going to chain 1 to start for the next row, row 21. So we'll go ahead and turn our work. So with this, we have these 2 chains here. Remember that this first chain was the chain that we'd used to finish off this last bean stitch. So we're actually going to start row 21 in that stitch. And we're just going to be doing single crochets. So we're just going to start in that chain, do our first single crochet, then go into the side of that bean stitch and do the single crochet there. And then continuing down this, we're going to do a single crochet into each stitch. So you'll do 1 in the chain that you did to finish off the bean stitch, and then 1 in the side of the bean stitch. So just do that all the way down for this row, and when you get to the end, you can go ahead and fasten off and weave in your ends and enjoy your new scarf. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy these tutorials, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified as new ones come out.